Okay, I think we can start. I see that people are joining, so they will join while we go. Welcome everybody. This is a new session of the NOR webinar series. The NOR webinar series is an initiative done by the Network of Resources, that is an initiative from the European Space Agency. I am Federico Rondoni on behalf of the NOR, and today I'm here with Cristiano and Lucas from WASDI that are going to give to us an overview of their platform. So first of all, I want to thank them for their participation on this webinar series. And in general, we want to remind you that this is a series that started a couple of weeks ago and will last until the end of July. There will be the possibility to understand the different services that are available through the Network of Resources, which is an initiative that aims to bring users to the cloud, nearer to data and not the contrary. The main goal is to allow people to work directly inside the cloud environment, and this is why WASDI is a very peculiar and important platform in the, let's say, in the cloud panorama. So without taking more time, I will give the floor to Cristiano. I want to remind all the participants that if you have any questions at any time, you can write them inside the chat and we will address them during the webinar or at the end of the presentation from Cristiano. And at the end of the question and answer session, there will be also a presentation on how to access the Network of Resources, different services, and how to ask for an ESA sponsorship. So please, Cristiano, I give the floor to you.
Great, thanks a lot, Federico, and thanks to the European Space Agency and the NOR for this possibility. Nice to have this opportunity. And my name is Cristiano Nattero. I am an engineer at WASDI, which is a startup in Luxembourg, and it's a company built around a cloud platform for Earth observation. We think of WASDI as a horizontal technology that enables new applications. And in particular, what we're going to see today is how WASDI facilitates the conversion of an algorithm into an application in the cloud that can be used to scale up, to offer services, to run large-scale experiments or operational services, and possibly also to share, to let others, third parties, use our code, or at least our service, and possibly also make money out of it. So that should be all for the context, and during this presentation I am going to share some links with you here in the chat. This is the first one. This is the link of the company, but since this is a hands-on application, I invite everybody to register on WASDI at this address, wasdi.net. If you haven't done it already, you can do it for free, and together today we are going to address this scenario, okay? I have a code and it works on my computer, which is number one excuse for not deploying things in production. It works on my computer. But then how do I make my code run in the cloud? Well, WASDI is here exactly to address this issue and to make things easier. I'm going to share the screen. Please ask whatever you wish in the chat, and I cannot see the chat because I only have one screen, but Federico will promptly tell me if there are questions, issues, suggestions. So this is the wasdi.net website. I'm clicking on login. I have my credentials, so I can log in. Those who don't have credentials can click on register here, enter your data, click register. You will receive an email, a confirmation email. You need to click in the link you receive. So make sure that the email you receive from WASDI doesn't get classified as spam. Okay. Back to the home, I'm logging in. And as you log into the WASDI website, the first thing you see is this marketplace of applications. We call it the space market. We'll get back to these applications and the marketplace later on. For now, what you need to know is that if you deploy your application on WASDI, you may decide also to offer it to other people, other users of WASDI here in this marketplace. But that is not mandatory. You can even keep the application for yourself. There are other pages in WASDI. I'll show you some of these. WASDI has this concept of workspaces. You can think of them as folders that contain your data, but they are also containers for another thing. They are also containers for processes that get executed in the cloud. So there should be one workspace that I prepared for today's webinar. There it is. And I have an EO product here. I'll get back to this in a moment. The other useful page in WASDI is the search page. WASDI is connected to several data providers, and we keep adding them to support the needs of our customers. So definitely let us know if you need something else to work with WASDI. We are super flexible, but we have in general Sentinel-1, Sentinel-2, Sentinel-3, Sentinel-5P, legacy missions, ProbaVNM, VSAT, Landsat 8, and so on and so forth. Many types of data. Okay. Now, before we get to the thick parts, the first thing you need to be able to work with WASDI is, well, maybe there are two things: documentation and support. Let's begin with documentation. It's here. If you click on this icon of the book, you get redirected to read the docs. And you have a getting started with WASDI. Also, we have some videos somewhere, a general description. You have the basic usage. Okay, we take you really hand in hand and take you through WASDI and show you how to do anything that can be done in WASDI. And since today's presentation is about software development or software deployment, I invite you also to have a look at some programming tutorials. We are using Python as a, let's say, demonstration, though WASDI supports several languages. Okay, we have a Python tutorial that takes you from scratch to deploying an application in the marketplace. We have a tutorial for using Jupyter notebooks, which is built around the previous webinar that we did with Noor. And we also have a cookbook of useful recipes for addressing specific little problems. So in general, you can access the documentation here. As you can see, I prepared a list of links to share with you. Where is the chat here? Federico, do you know it? All right.
Is from the presentation, you should click on the orange bar on top.
Yeah.
And there should be chat somewhere.
Ah, there it is. Okay. So here's the documentation. And if you wish to learn more about WASDI, I also share this link with you because this tells more about what WASDI is and also about some notable cases where we used WASDI with success together with our partners. Okay, so anything you can do here can be done also in code. So let's go back to this folder with a product. It's a Sentinel-5P product. Today we're going to see a very simple example, okay? But it has general validity. I'm using Sentinel-5P because those products are very small and can be transferred very quickly, but you can use any EO product that you need. You can also use, of course, multiple products. But in this example, I assume that I have some code. Maybe it's even too big now. Maybe I can decrease its size a bit. Okay. I assume I have this Python code. I'm going to tell you what it does in a moment. But it's really a simple case, okay, of some code that works with EO data and works on my computer. And it reads a Sentinel-5P product and extracts a band corresponding to a pollutant, an air pollutant, and creates a GeoTIFF, a raster file that I can use for other purposes. Okay, so it starts here with the main. We call this example code, and basically it says hello, and we have some hard-coded data. Do you like hard-coded data? I don't. Definitely bad practice, okay? But it's just an example. Let's say that I have some way of getting a directory, a band corresponding to the pollutant, and a name of a CDF, a Sentinel-5 netCDF file. Okay, so I set these variables. I also set the name of the output GeoTIFF that I want to create, and then we're ready, and we call this very smart algorithm which contains the secret sauce. And what it does, I mean, we're going to see it, but it gets the full path of the input product. Okay, it adds a .nc suffix if the name doesn't contain it. It's just for, let's say, robustness. Then it gets the full path to the product, the full path to the output file, and it creates a path for a virtual file. And with GDAL translate, we create a virtual file containing just the band that we need. And then with GDAL warp, we reproject it and we save the TIFF file. Okay? And that's it. And then an XML, an additional XML file can be created. If it exists, we remove it. We don't need this for this application. Couple of remarks here. This code can be definitely optimized in several ways. As you can see, I'm reconstructing the command line for using GDAL translate and calling it with a shell execute, and the same for GDAL warp. I know that Python has GDAL bindings, but I tried several times to replicate this with the bindings and I couldn't make it work. So bear with me for the moment. It can be any code here, okay? The point is, it reads some data locally and works with them. So the next thing we should do is go where the file is. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is our input file. Let's run it. Let's run it. Process finished with exit code 0. Good, no errors. And look here, we have the TIFF file. Oh, we also have the VRT, which I forgot to delete, but let's skip it. And we can see this. We can see this. And there it is. Okay. Is it properly positioned? It should be. I tested several times. Okay. We're good so far. Nice. Let's say I need to process 2000 Sentinel-5P products. It's not sustainable on my computer, okay? Let's say I want to run it on a daily basis. I cannot do it now. So what we do now, we port it to WASDI. And how are we supposed to port some code to WASDI? Well, we need a few ingredients. So I'll begin by copying this same code into another folder. And the first thing we need is to have one Python file called my processor. Now, our project could be very complicated, featuring multiple files, as many as you wish, with folders, subfolders, no problem, okay? But we need to have one file called myprocessor.py, which contains the entry point for WASDI, okay? That's mandatory. We may be able to improve on this. We have some ideas for the future, but for the moment, that's necessary. No, I'm not adding it to Git. By the way, this editor I'm using is PyCharm Community Edition, but any editor will work. Okay, it's just because it's convenient and nice, but any other editor will work. Do you mind if I reduce the size of the font a little bit? You tell me if it's too small. So same code as before. So let's go to the import. First thing is import WASDI. Now I already installed it, but in case you need it, you can install the WASDI Python library with pip install WASDI. The -U is to upgrade the package in case you already installed it. Okay? So same code as before. Let's make it into a WASDI application. So the first thing I told you is we need an entry point for WASDI inside this myprocessor file. And the entry point is called run. So what we can do here, instead of having this method called example code, we can rename it. I'm using the refactor function. Oh, it's covered by the orange tab. So instead of example code, I'm calling it run. There it is, renamed here and where it is executed. Okay, so far nothing changed. That's not very interesting. Okay. Next, I really hate these hard-coded pieces. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm creating a JSON file called parameters.json, and I'm putting there the values. So the name of the band and the name of the Sentinel-5P product file. Okay? You may say, okay, nice, but how do I read them? Well, the way to do that is to use WASDI, but we're not ready yet. We need a little additional bit, which is a config.json file. Okay? In the config.json, we say the ID of the workspace that we want to use. Look, how do I get the ID? Remember, workspace, we opened it, and here we have a name for the workspace, but the ID is here in the URL. Okay? And it's exactly this one. Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to ask you, I see that Rinalda has a question. Do you want to address the question, maybe some question now, or do you prefer to collect them towards the end?
You cannot see the code in the PDF. No, the PDF is a general presentation. For the code, I invite you to check the documentation in Read the Docs. Anyway, if you cannot find the link to the documentation, let's say one day, now it's in the chat, but one day you don't find it, no problem. You go to WASDI in any page, okay? And you have this book here, you click it, and you get redirected to the WASDI documentation where you can find anything. The tutorial for using Python from scratch, the Jupyter Notebook tutorial. The tutorial that we are doing today is not there yet, but it will be, and I will share the link with Federico, who will publish it with the video Another very useful thing to get support is here you have this possibility of sending us a message, but I strongly invite you to click here, and that's the link to our Discord server, which is here. And in the Discord server, there's a channel called Support Forum, where you can ask for support for anything you're experiencing or for suggesting ideas. You're definitely very welcome. And we and our colleagues, we do our best to provide timely support. I hope I answered your question. Okay. Thank you, Lucas. So we will share the code anyway, and we will share also, we remind you the instructions for converting existing applications into WASDI applications. So what do you need? You need a myprocessor.py file with a method called run. And locally, but not in WASDI, but locally you also need a config.json file with some information. I'll show them to you, and maybe you can use an additional JSON file containing the parameters that are specific to your algorithm. So in the config.json, I'm writing the ID of the workspace, which is in the URL of the workspace, a path where the parameters file can be found, and that's this directory, parameters.json, see, this one, and then my username and my password. Okay, put there your password. All right, so far nothing special. Let's read the parameters, shall we? So instead of this, we are changing the code into this, the name of the band. So it's WASDI.get parameter, name of the parameter. What is it called? It's called band. And there it is. And maybe we can also give it a default value like this. Let's keep the directory for a moment. I'll comment it. Same for the name of the product file. WASDI.get parameter, and the name of the parameter is S5 product. Nice. Let's put it there. Should we give it a default value? Let's put none. Now we don't have a directory. What can we do? Well, we can do this as directory WASDI.get save path. So we ask WASDI for the path that corresponds to the workspace, the place where we can save the new file. And it's also the place that contains existing files. And we should be good to go. So this was the folder containing the results. Let's delete the TIFF and VRT. Oops, it's open somewhere, probably here, yes. Okay, try again. Okay, also want to clean this one. Okay, good. Let's try the new code. We haven't done anything special yet, okay? We just asked WASDI to get the path and to get the parameters. This thing is very annoying, Debug. We got a type error. Maybe, not sure this is. Not sure this is a string, I don't remember. Let's see if it works. What's up? You know that things live never go straight the first time. Was that the point that created the issue? Yes. No, doesn't like that. Let's do it different. There's another option. Instead of get safe path, we'll just ask for the path. Get path, let's see if it works like this. Okay. Oh. Ah. I promised it worked last night. Let's try converting this to a string. I am perplexed. So let me see. Let me see. So just did get path here. Get path should work. Oh, this is strange. This is really strange. So what I told you at the beginning, it works on my computer. It's not true in this case. Lucas, you mind pinging Marco for ideas?
Sure.
Thanks. We got an exception. This is really bizarre. You know what? I deployed this very same code on WASDI. This one, let's download it. See what we have there. So we have this code here. Well, maybe the quickest thing would be to open it here. I think I can close this one. Yes. So this is the same code as the get path. I don't really know what's going on here. But let's try anyway. Config and parameters. I copy them. Yeah. No. Let's debug it. Let's see. Okay, it works. Do you see it's exactly the same line? I don't really understand what's going on. Here it doesn't. So here it doesn't work. Here it works. Magic. I don't really know. If you have ideas, let me know in the chat. Okay. Those who can spot the error will win some prize that WASDI will offer. Okay, whatever. So let's continue with the working run. So far we read the parameters like this. We call our very smart algorithm. And here I already changed something. This is the version that I already deployed on WASDI for testing. So what I changed, it's not much, but it's relevant. So this was our original version. Hello and welcome. What is it? No, this one. Let's skip this one. So we have this issue for eating, also adding some robustness, and we want to keep that. Oops, I'm looking in the wrong place. Okay, we have it. So let me recap. Instead of hard-coded parameters, we read the parameters from WASDI. Okay, then we call our algorithm. And our algorithm is very close, but oops, looking in the wrong place. What changes? What changes? Instead of composing the path with a directory plus the name of the file, we ask WASDI to give us the path containing this file. Why so? Because this makes the code portable. It's working on my computer. This time we checked it. And it's going to work also in the cloud. I'm going to demonstrate that in a moment. The rest is almost the same everywhere, but here, okay, we have WASDI log instead of, it's not exactly the same software, but basically this corresponds to this is the way we log on WASDI. Why? I'm going to show in a moment, but basically I replaced all the prints with WASDI log. And that's all I changed. Okay, I'll stop a moment, ask me questions here. No questions? Probably I already made you fall asleep. WASDI.init.
Yeah,
very
there
good
is
point.
a suggestion.
Bravo, bravo. Probably yes. Very good. Probably yes. Yes, I forgot to init WASDI. Yeah, let's discuss that a moment. Before calling run, good point, WASDI.init. And the init method starts the library, and it can be called without any argument. And I did this in the tutorial on Jupyter Notebooks, or you can call it passing the path to the config.json. Okay? Now let's see if that was the issue. Curious here. Hey, you were right. Congratulations, and thanks a lot. But anyway, what is it? This one? So this one still has the prints, and stopping it, stop all. And this one has the logs. Okay, there are no other differences. This would have been my next step. So what I'm going to do now is I am opening the folder containing my ported processor, and I will deploy it on WASDI. So what we need to do, usually we also need to add, we may need to add another file. which is a text file called pip.txt. Okay, no, I don't want to add it. So if we install packages using pip, such as WASDI, we should write this. So in each line, a name of a package that we installed. Actually, WASDI is installed automatically, so this is not necessary, but I'll demonstrate it just for the sake of completeness. So what I need to do is select the pip.txt, select myprocessor.py, select any other code file that I have, and create a zip containing them. So calling it, yeah, don't really like that name, but it works. Okay, it's a zip containing, in this case, those two files. I do not need, and I should not add in the zip file the config.json and the parameters.json files, especially not the config.json because it contains my credentials and I want to keep it in my computer. Okay, so now with that file, what am I supposed to do? Here in WASDI, I click on New App, and let me try to show them to you. So I need to give it a name, nor webinar porting. This is a simple name I want to give my application. Select programming language. Let's say Python 3.10. We have several options. C#, IDL. In this case, it's Python 3.10. It's Sentinel 5P. Outputs geotiff. And this is a sample of the input that our application expects to receive. And we can simply use our parameters.json as an example. Okay? Do I want to make this application public? I'm not sure it's a killer application, but I'll do it just to let you test it afterwards. So I am done, but I need to drag and drop the code there. Okay, drag and drop it here, apply, and now WASDI is deploying the processor in the cloud, which means that it is available from anywhere in the world if it's possible to connect via HTTP to WASDI. Okay, yeah, sorry, I tried to deploy it twice. My bad. Okay, so now if I go here, so I am inside the workspace editor. If I go here and I write nor webinar porting. So here I have my application and I can do several nice things. I can edit it. I can delete it. I can download it. But first thing I want to do is try it. Let's see. Let's see what happens. And as you can see, when you launch an application, the logs get opened automatically. There is an error, but we can ignore it. Actually, this is not an error. It's the wrong log. geotiff created, aux XML file not found. Okay, let's close it. Oh, a new product appeared in the workspace. And hey, it's the one that we created. And it has just one band, and let's see. If I click on it, I publish the band, and let's see what happened. We should be able to see the product. Oh, there it is. Yeah. So we ported it to WASDI. Our same code, just a few tweaks, few refactorings, works on WASDI. we just need to remember to init the WASDI library. So I want to show you this. Remember those WASDI log that we created? For instance, here was the log, aux XML file not found, and then the XML that we were looking for. Look in the bar, in the process bar, we have the latest applications that have been executed in this workspace. And we can also load more if we want here. And for each application, let me shrink the screen a bit, but I don't know if you can read it. For each application, we see the type, the name, other data, and the logs. And see, aux XML file not found, and then the path to the file. Aux XML file not found. So each time we use WASDI log, we log a line here that remain saved in the workspace. Okay, so what I'd like to do now is show you something more advanced. I'm not doing it from scratch because of time and because errors can happen. So I already prepared some code and I'm going through this existing code, commenting it. So this is another application. Yeah, we init it, we run, and we read different parameters. The scope of this application, the reason of this application is that it's not very user-friendly to let the user select a specific file name. We'd rather give them more humanly understandable parameters, such as a bounding box, an area of interest, and a range of dates. And then we can search for products in that interval. This is exactly the same application that I explained in the previous webinar, and I'll share the link with you. But the point is, I'll go through it very quickly. We get the parameter, the bounding box. So these are the parameters that we expect: the bounding box, start date, and end date. Okay. We get the product type that we want. In this case, this is the product type that contains this pollutant. And we search for products corresponding to the bounding box, the start and end date, and the specific parameters for Sentinel-5P. We import just the first one, okay, of the results that we get. And then what? And then from this, now we imported a Sentinel-5P product in the workspace, so we can use the processor that we already deployed in WASDI to turn the newly imported Sentinel-5P product into a GeoTIFF. And that processor, we need to give it the appropriate name. It's called, remember, NOR webinar porting. NOR webinar porting. And we pass that product the parameters that it expects, but they are compiled dynamically. We wait for the process to complete, and then we log that we're done. Okay, I understand I've been a bit quick, but I wish to save some time. I'll share the code with you. Definitely reach out to us on Discord, and we will provide you anything you need for this. So, new application, again, Python 10, NOR webinar Sentinel-5, porting. Let me save the name of the application so I don't make mistakes later. So, reads a bounding box, creates GeoTIFF, JSON sample. What is the input? for this application. Bounding box start date and date. Not very complicated, is it? We will make it public and we just need the code. So again, let me delete this. Basically, I could upload just the myprocessor.py. Show zip, create myprocessor.zip. Okay. Okay. Apply. And it's deploying the application. This same interface can be used to modify, to edit the processors, the applications that we deployed on WASDI. And if you need to just change one file, you don't need to make a zip every time. Just drag and drop the single file you're modifying. If you instead need to modify more than one, create a zip and repeat. Okay. So we could try it as 5, not webinar, Sentinel-5. Okay, I could run it. That's not very interesting. What I want to do is show the application. See, I went to the Store tab, show the application in the store. And then I can create an interface for it. So this is a JSON that describes the interface for our application. Okay? I am not a web developer. I wouldn't know how to set up a web interface for my application. But with this, yes, there is still some learning that I need to do, but it's rather simple. So I want to add a tab which is called Sentinel-5 Retriever. We can come up with better names, I'm sure. This is JSON, so make sure that if you don't want to add any more tabs, you delete this last comma. Let's check it with format JSON. Oh, nice. And then we want to add controls. And we want what? We said 2 dates and a bounding box. So where is it? Here. Date. This is called start date. It's a date and we can call it first date, tooltips start date. And then we add another date. Okay. This is called end date. That's the name of the parameter. Oh, by the way, they are required. True. Both required. True. Last date, tooltip, and date. And we're done. We need to remove the commas. No, actually, we need another one. We need an area selector. And this is going to be called, I copy it from our parameters.json. This is called bbox, label bounding box is required. Tooltip AOI. We can limit the maximum area, maximum size. There are some options for limiting it, but let's forget them for the moment. One thing I just need to add is to render as strings. This is a technical parameter which prevents lots of issues if the user inputs unexpected values. Let's format it. Yeah. Okay. Apply. Okay. Now, let's close this. Let's close this. We can move to the space market. And what was the name of the processor? Nor webinar. Let's see if it's here. Yes, it is. We have a page for our application and we can insert more details, but let's move on, open it. And now we have 2 date selectors. Let's start from the first and end with today. Let's select an area of interest. I live in Genova here. So let's select here. And let's say that we want to save the results in the webinar. This is about porting. Okay. There are other tabs here. I'm not exploring them now, but I click run. I get redirected to the workspace and see it is being executed. Let's have a look at the logs. Let's see what's going on. Now this is the application that takes an input, a bounding box and a date interval. It retrieves Sentinel-5P products that correspond to this geospatial query, and then calls the other processor that we deployed earlier on the imported Sentinel-5P products. And see, let me close this. See that the application is still running and it fetched a new Sentinel-5P product, still running. The new product is this one. It's been added to the workspace, and this is the other application which completed, and now WASDI is ingesting the newly created product, this one. See? And let's see if we can see it. So what happened is, with this new application, we controlled the cloud because we triggered the execution of another application and we started it, we waited for it to complete. And hey, this is just marginally over Genova, but yes, it's still there. And the other code that we previously uploaded on WASDI worked. And we also saw that we didn't trigger this programmatically, but we triggered this from the marketplace. So for today, I think I can stop here. Again, I invite you to do a few things. Here's the chat. Register to our Discord server to get support. And we also have a newsletter. I invite you to subscribe to it. And in general, let's stay in touch. And here are the LinkedIn pages of WASDI and my profile page. So reach out. And thanks a lot. Federico, I think.
Thank you. Thank you, Cristiano, for
took a bit more time this time.
No worries. So if there are any questions, please write them in the chat. In the meantime, that we are waiting for questions, I'm going to share quickly the NOR portal to show everybody how to access all the different services available to the network of resources. So first of all, you need to connect to the web address nor-discover.org that brings you to the NOR portal itself. You have some useful information about the network of resources initiatives and all the different providers and services. You can navigate to different pages. If you go to the outreach page, you will have the videos of the previous sessions of the NOR webinar series. And here there will be also this one published once it is available. And by going to the portfolio page, you can access the NOR portfolio where there are all the different services that are available to the NOR. So for instance, let's say we are looking for WASDI, we can scroll down the list, or we can search here with filters and so on. And once we have identified the provider, we have some details, the provider help desk link, which we always recommend you to contact before asking for any resources in order to be sure that you are asking for the resources you really need. And then by going to the pricing wizard, there is a form that you need to fill out to ask for specific resources. You need, first of all, to select the project type. Only bear in mind that commercial projects are not eligible for ESA sponsorship. So let's say we are working on a research project, we then can select different resources with the tick boxes and by changing the number of units and the duration. And then we can, if we don't work on an ESA project, we select no here. If we will not co-found the cost, we can select no here. Just bear in mind that the maximum amount that is available for sponsorship is 5,000 euros. So everything that goes above this margin needs to be co-found. And we have two different options. One, to go directly to the provider website and ask the provider for the specific resources, or ask ESA for sponsorship. By going here, you have a complete form to fill out with the different fields. We will remind you just some of the most important things. First of all, the email you are using, it must be an organization email address. We cannot accept the personal email addresses. Then there is to be a justification for the selected services and provider, and this is why we ask you to contact first the provider in order to fill out this field with a specific justification for your project, and the description of work you're going to do within the cloud environment. Then you need to say if it's the first time or not that you're applying for the NOR, and you will have an overview of the resources you are requesting, plus the last thing to do, that is to select an expected date of submission of the set of slides. This is important because at the end of your project that you can select here, we need to have back a report done in PowerPoint or any PowerPoint-like software with 4 to 5 slides where you clearly state why the resources you requested through the network of resources were helpful for your project. Then you can or cannot select the sign up for the Nord newsletter, and you must accept the privacy policy. The last thing to do is to export the sponsoring request. It will create a PDF. You need to download the PDF, sign it, and email it to nor-sponsorship-request@isa.int. So this completes also the overview of the NOR portal. Let's see if there are any questions. I see that there are no questions. So I think that if there are no questions, we can close here the session. I want again to thank you, Cristiano and Lucas, for your participation and for this presentation, and remind all participants that this video will be available via the NOR outreach page as soon as possible.
Thank you, Federico. Thanks a lot also to the participants.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, and have a nice day.